Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we get ready for the second Saturday of the NBA season. It is November 2nd. Get ready to fall back. We are on daylight savings time or whichever one we get an extra hour. That's what this one is. So Adam, what are you going to do with that extra hour? I vote drinking and then setting NFL lineups.
Is that tomorrow?
That's tomorrow, yes. Sometime between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. Clock goes backwards. So for you will still be awake. I will be fast asleep.
Yeah, it was always my favorite bar night in college because you got that extra hour.
2 last calls. Hey, what could go wrong with that? But in any event, we have 8 games on the NBA slate. One is a 5 o'clock game, and then we have 7 starting at 7 o'clock. You're going to get me and Adam with our foundational looks here across the board. We're going to have the DFS strategy show at 9:30 for NBA. At 11, it will be for NFL. That Adam and I will be back again for 9:30, and then it will be, let me think for a second, Chris Randone and I believe Sal Vitri run that Saturday show. And then you'll have On the Contrary with Alex. Special guest. I wasn't able to watch any of our shows today, so I'm not sure who the special guest will be this week, but they've brought in a different NFL DFS luminary each week to fill the third seat, and then Chris Spags will be on that one. Then you're going to get Live Before Lock NBA style, myself and Fast Eddie Fear. That will most likely be 6 o'clock to 7. I'll have to ask Eddie. Sometimes he likes to go at 5:45 just because we are the only show there at night. So we'll double check that, but not to fear. It will at least be by 6 o'clock. Adam, let's do you want to go game by game or you want to go by position here?
Let's go by position.
By position works for me. We are at point guard. Let's see. 2 huge items of note. A couple suspensions will be taking place on Saturday. 2 game suspensions for Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. Both of their teams are on the slate. They won't be. We have Portland hosting Philadelphia. You've got Hassan Whiteside questionable with a knee injury. We'll have to see what happens there. And then on, let's see, it's the Wizards that are taking on Minnesota. And Minnesota has a couple people dinged up, so we'll have to see what happens there. But we'll hit those by position. Starting off at point guard, Adam, the world is your oyster. We have Ben Simmons near the top. You've got Kyrie Irving on the back-to-back. And then, Damian Lillard likes to drive to the hoop. Nobody protecting it unless your name's Mike Scott. What do you want to do at point guard?
You'll have Al Horford there too for Lillard.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, because I had the first thought too, but that's one of the reasons that the Sixers are just so dangerous this year is, you have, in addition to Embiid, you have Horford in there. So still a really tough defensive matchup, a really long Philadelphia team against Lillard. Kyrie in the middle of a decent game right now against Houston. Not sure how that one will end up, but monster usage this season, and he's still affordable. He, coming into the game against Houston, had a 35% usage rate, about a 30% expected assist percentage, playing around 33 minutes in competitive games. I think that he's a really strong play again here against Detroit. D'Angelo Russell has a good matchup against Charlotte. He's someone who my expectation, and obviously we'll see how it plays out, but my expectation is that he's going to struggle potentially against some of the better teams because there's just no one to really take defensive attention away from him. But teams that are weaker, maybe he has better games. So I think that hopefully he has a bad game on Friday. That game hasn't started yet, because it would be a nice bounce back spot against Charlotte.
All right, as let me get open the old DK here. Of course, we are sponsored by the one and only Yahoo. We'll talk Yahoo specific pricing there shortly, because they do have some better values down in that $10 minimum price point range. And of course, I cover those every day in the cash building block article. If you want to check that out, that is free in front of the paywall. Third paragraph will tell you how to get $30 with your first DFS deposit over there on Yahoo. We have the link, promo code, and instructions there, and they will match up to $30 with your first deposit in YSRPs. Those are Yahoo Sports Rewards points, and you can use them immediately in any contest. They are just as good as cash. Coming in here, looking at the mid tier, Kyle Lowry, no stranger to going against Milwaukee here. Of course, no Kawhi Leonard there to help Lowry out. We do have Fred VanVleet. You've got Jamal Murray, tougher matchup there going against Orlando. Murray has not topped 30 fantasy points in any of the last 3 games. He is averaging 30 minutes in those contests, so that's a little bit frustrating. Ricky Rubio is in the mix here. He has topped 30 fantasy points in every game thus far, but 31, 35, 34, and then first game of the season 42, so not the most immense ceiling with him. What do you like here in our secondary tier of point guards?
I think that Ricky Rubio in particular is really interesting. His price tag is affordable, and obviously we'll talk about Devin Booker when we get to shooting guard. But Memphis currently leads the NBA in pace going into Friday's games. So they were playing, just ahead of Houston. They've been a okay team defensively, but nothing special. The pace though is really the big thing, and that was to be expected with no Marc Gasol, no Mike Conley, John Morant joining this team. So a lot of possessions or extra possessions for Phoenix potentially. I think that Rubio benefits from that. And then Kyle Lowry, facing a Milwaukee team that is good defensively, but that is playing at a top 5 pace. I think that it's a pretty good spot for Lowry as well.
How in the world? I mean, you're right. They're kind of tied there with Houston. Memphis has been bottom. Last year they were last. 2017 they were third from last. 2016 third from last, or third worst, I guess is another way to look at it. 2015 fourth worst, and they're leading the league. Adam, that is just wild.
Yeah, I give a lot of the credit there to Morant.
Yes, what's down is up. What's up is down. We were talking pre-show that we are definitely in a simulation. This is yet another sign of it. We saw the World Series where nobody won a home team or a home game, and the Nationals outscored. I was going to say Detroit, Houston, 33-11 or whatever. In Houston, they got outscored at home, like, I don't know, 15-4 or something crazy like that. This is a whole brave new world, Adam. It's a brave new world. We have some intriguing guys down here at a cheaper price point. You've got Derrick Rose coming in on the back-to-back. We already know that he is more or less capped at 25 to 27 minutes. He has not topped the 27-minute mark. It'll be interesting to see what happens for him on the back-to-back. He's been dealing with a sore hamstring, so would not be a complete shock if he got that one off, but we will see. You have Jeff Teague, as we mentioned, no Karl Anthony Towns. Ideally, we see him step up a little bit. He has only topped 30 minutes twice this season. He has not been exciting from a fantasy perspective. He is averaging just 13.5 points, 5.5 assists, and a steal. That's 25 fantasy points per game. That's not very intriguing. However, it is against the Wizards, and there is no Karl Anthony Towns. And then Spencer Dinwiddie. Adam, revenge is a real thing. You've got Dinwiddie going against Detroit. What do you like here as we get down to our discount dandies?
I think that Teague against the Wizards is interesting just because the Wizards are not a particularly good defensive team. Teague should get around 30 minutes. The assist numbers should be there. Dinwiddie is tough because he's playing behind Kyrie Irving. He's still getting minutes alongside of him as well, but obviously Kyrie's dominating usage there. And then Dinwiddie's getting, around 15 minutes without Kyrie on the floor. So it's an okay salary. I think the most interesting guy though is Vontae Graham, who's been playing really, really well for Charlotte. Gets to face a Golden State team that's one of the fastest teams in the league, has been the worst defense in the NBA so far. Graham played another 30 and a half minutes against Sacramento in his most recent game, where Terry Rozier also played 35 minutes. So it's really good to see that it's not a situation where Rozier plays poorly and Graham picks up the slack. They are both playing monster minutes, and Graham has been really productive this year.
All right, last guy's name that's jumping out there is one Isiah Thomas. We do have him going against Minnesota. He has played 2 games thus far for the Wizards, 20 and 24 minutes. That looks like about where his cap is going to be as he works his way back from injury. Hey, he fits right in with the Wizards. There's no defense, but he dropped 36 DraftKings points in 24 minutes. Did get that double bonus with 17 points, 10 assists. That was in 24 minutes game 2. That was that Houston game. That was 158, 159. The Wizards lost by 1. First time a game has gone that high without overtimes, Adam. And then the other one, the Wizards, let's see, they lost by 2 to San Antonio, 124-122. It feels like the Wizards are going to be the Coors Field of fantasy basketball this season. How are you feeling about the former University of Washington stalwart, Isiah Thomas?
It's just really tough when he's on that 20 minutes limit. He said last game that he was on a 20 minutes limit. He ended up playing, where'd that game? There it is. Ended up playing 24 and a half minutes. So I guess it's like a 25-minute limit now. So that's pretty appealing. The usage has been there. The assist opportunities have been there through 2 games as well. I think that 4,800 on DraftKings is an okay price point. If you're going to get around 25 minutes, there's obviously not a lot of mouths he's competing with on this team. So since it seems like the 20-minute thing came and went, he's actually a decent value option.
All right, well, let's start off at the top here. Bradley Beal at the 2 guard, 9,700. He dropped 72 fantasy points in that last game, played 40 minutes. The game before that, 38. Game before that, 35. And the one before that, 32. He's probably going to be playing monster minutes once again this year, knocking on wood that his shins can handle it. But he is someone that is averaging 50 fantasy points, and that feels about like the right projection in this game. How are you feeling about Beal at 9,700?
I really like him here. Minnesota is not a great defensive team, but on top of that, they've played at the 6th fastest pace going into Friday's games. Bradley Beal is on that list of guys with James Harden that is just shooting really poorly to start the season, but all the opportunities have been there. Has a usage rate up over 30%, gets a lot of potential assists as well. Those numbers could go away a little bit with Isiah Thomas back, but still clearly the offense runs through Bradley Beal, and he plays monster minutes. He led the NBA in minutes last season, or was second to Paul George. And yeah, there's really no reason not to like Beal.
All right, cruising on down the list, you've got D'Angelo Russell on that back-to-back. News has come out while we were recording, Adam, that Golden State plans on managing the workload of Draymond Green this year.
Yeah, saw that. So that's pretty interesting news. Obviously, we'll see what that means, but we'll obviously have more information to talk about on the morning show after Golden State plays on Friday night.
All right, but we've got Russell. That'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Potentially he's being showcased for a trade, or hey, maybe he is going to be the guy until Steph Curry is back. I believe I saw something come across that Curry's out for 3 months after surgery on that broken hand. You've got Devin Booker going against Memphis. That one's kind of exciting. You had mentioned Booker earlier. Would you like to expand on his role?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the pace thing. You know, Memphis playing really fast. Devin Booker is very affordable, $8,300 on DraftKings. His usage hasn't been as high so far this season as it has been in the past, but that's probably just a matter of time. You could see it fluctuate some because you know he is playing alongside Kelly Oubre, but you keep in mind that he's had TJ Warren there before, and you know Ricky Rubio is not a high usage guy. He's more of a high assist guy. But either way, Booker up in the 28% range right now, and is pretty cheap. So he's another guy that I think is a buy low candidate here, for lack of a better word, especially as sites are finally starting to tighten up their pricing. It's not like the first week of the season where you could just, you know, roster whoever you want. So you had to directly compare Devin Booker to guys like James Harden at basically the same price.
Do you know how many years Booker has been in the league?
3?
This is his 5th.
Really?
Yes. Do you know how many years Bradley Beal's been in the league?
I'm going to guess this is his 5th.
This is his 8th.
Okay. I'll say 5 did not seem right, but I do know that Bradley Beal is really young still.
Yes, he is 26 still. But by the way, your guesses were what I had before I went and looked those up. So somehow we lost 2 years each there, Adam. Yeah. But yeah, that just both those guys are definitely on the young side, having come out of college early. But wow, 8 years for Beal, that doesn't quite feel right. We've got CJ McCollum going against the Philadelphia 76ers. McCollum is reasonably priced there at 6,700. You have Fred VanVleet, who is taking on Milwaukee. Of course, he is no stranger to that matchup, having squared off against them in the playoffs. We are running the Fred Van Elite contest. Check out my pinned tweet. I'm going to set that at 75 entries. It's $1 a piece. It pays out normally just like a 75-person contest there on DK, but you need to join the Awesemo DK League to get access into that. And if you finish first with an Awesemo avatar, you will get 1 free month of all access Awesemo content. So check my pinned tweet out. That contest must fill to run. We had it set at 100 and it didn't fill. I set it at 50 and it fills overnight. So we're going for 75 here. If that does not fill, then we will bump it back down to 50. And I don't want to hear anybody complain when they don't get in it. Adam, should I be the only one playing Fred VanVleet in the contest? I vote yes, because he's 6,700. How do you feel about that price point?
I think it's pretty fair. He's 63 on DraftKings, but he's playing huge minutes, pace up spot against Milwaukee. Yeah, nothing wrong with paying 6,300 for VanVleet.
All right. How do you feel about CJ McCollum? 67. Karis LeVert, 61. You mentioned you liked Graham. We talked about Dinwiddie. And then Richardson for Philadelphia. Held out of practice on Thursday for a sore toe. They expect him to play. He's 5,100. That's an intriguing matchup there against Portland. What do you like about that range?
I like all the guys you mentioned. Richardson's just really cheap. It's not like he's, a primary scorer. He's not the primary assist guy, but there's going to be more usage to go around without Joel Embiid in, which is obviously nice. And he just plays minutes. And it should be a pretty fast-paced game. Philadelphia's 3rd in pace, Portland's 8th, so that's pretty appealing. He's cheap. It's just a guy that it feels like he has a pretty high floor, and obviously if he runs into some steals or knocks down an extra couple of shots, he can pay off pretty nicely. You mentioned McCollum on the other side of that game. Same thing, fast-paced game. And while Philadelphia is a good defense, it's a pretty appealing price tag on McCollum, a little bit cheaper than Jamal Murray, a little bit cheaper than Andrew Wiggins. So I think that both of those guys are good options.
All right. How many people do you think remember Evan Fournier played for Denver? Because this would be revenge.
I did not.
Oh, Adam. It was might have been right before you started playing DFS. So yeah, he's 5,100. That's okay. You've got Luke Kennard, who is 5,000. That's adequate. We do know that it looks like Reggie Jackson out again. He did not make the trip. Back to back there for Derrick Rose. So perhaps Luke Kennard gets a little bit more run. You've got Joe Harris on the back to back. Gary Harris going against Orlando. Anybody else as we finish up on shooting guard here?
Nothing that I'm super confident in. Will Barton's questionable for this one. We'll obviously have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, nothing that really jumps off the page. You can, look to guys like Dylan Brooks. Keep an eye on Alec Burks. He's someone that I'm paying close attention to for Golden State. He played his first game back from injury against Phoenix in the game that Curry got hurt. Played about 18 minutes. It's basically, I think, just a conditioning thing with Burks at this point. I expect him to be getting a lot of minutes for Golden State. He's one of the only ball handlers they have, and that's something they needed even before Curry got hurt, was a ball handler off the bench. Now they need it even more with only Russell out there. So pay attention to how many minutes he plays and pay attention to news about him on a back-to-back and what the plan is for him, because he's someone that I would like to get ahead of the curve on.
All right, we've got Giannis Antetokounmpo here leading off at small forward / power forward. I think more as a small forward. Of course, he can literally play every position, 10,700. That seems like a nice price point there. Toronto not particularly equipped to defend him, particularly with no Kawhi Leonard. You've got Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris. They're going to be without Joel Embiid. We mentioned that. Andrew Wiggins coming in just below them. He is going to be without Karl Anthony Towns. Who do you think picks up the better usage here without their respective big? Would that be Tobias Harris, who's suddenly on a rebounding tear, or Andrew Wiggins?
I would think that it's Wiggins, because Harris still has to contend with Simmons, still has to contend with Horford, Richardson to some degree. Whereas Wiggins, with Towns out, Teague's not a high high volume guy. Neither is Covington. Trevion Graham certainly isn't. So I think Wiggins sees the higher usage.
Hard to go to him, but 7,100, it is a fair price point. Good matchup there against Washington. He's probably the guy that pops the most for me. I don't mind Harris at 73. He's definitely going to be the late slate guy. Keep in mind the late slate a little small on Saturday. There is let's see, 2 games at 7, 3 games at 8, 1 at 8:30, and 1 at 10. So keep in mind, if you are not going to be around near lock, you do not have too many other bailout options there.
I have the numbers for Wiggins last year.
Yes.
He played 474 minutes without any of Derrick Rose, Jimmy Butler, or Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. Averaged 1.18 DraftKings points per minute with a 33.2% usage rate. 116 of those minutes were with Jeff Teague on the floor. His usage rate dropped to 25.5%, averaged 1.12 points per minute. So pretty much any way you look at it, he obviously gets a bump without Towns. It's just a matter of how much you think Teague cutting into his usage rate is actually real, because Teague in those minutes, 171, had a 25.8% usage rate.
All right. Of the enigmatic Orlando forwards, Aaron Gordon 6,000, Jonathan Isaac 5,600 going against Denver. Feels like decent value plays there. Do you favor one over the other?
Not really. I don't really like taking guys against Denver all that much.
That's fair. Dario Saric, last guy that pops out, coming off a monster game, 7 of 15, 9 boards, 5 assists, 5 steals, 45 fantasy points. Keep in mind, he played 31 minutes. The game before that, he played 21 minutes, took 2 shots, did not get into double digits for fantasy points. He's kind of all over the board, but he's cheap. He's going against Memphis, as Adam and I have mentioned, particularly Adam. They are playing up in pace. How you feeling about Saric before we move on to power forward?
I think that the rotation in Phoenix's last game was really interesting because we hadn't really gotten a real clean look at what they were doing between Baines, Kaminsky, and Saric, because Baines kept getting in foul trouble. And so it seemed like Kaminsky was basically the backup center, but we didn't really know for sure what that was going to look like if Baines didn't get in foul trouble. But in the game against Golden State, which was a game where Baines went out and had an absolutely monster game. You got 28 minutes from Baines. You got 31 and a half minutes from Saric. Kaminsky only played 18 minutes. So I think it was really good for Saric that Kaminsky just basically played off the bench when Baines wasn't in foul trouble, because obviously that helps to solidify Saric's minutes. Now, granted, Saric was playing well in that game, and Kaminsky obviously can sub in for him if he's playing poorly, but at least the fact that Phoenix wasn't actively looking to take some of his minutes and give them to Kaminsky is good for Saric.
All right, looking at front court options here, Adam. It is the Wizards. You have Rui Hachimura, and now we have Thomas Bryant with power forward eligibility in addition to center eligibility. Both those guys get a nice matchup without Karl Anthony Towns in the mix. They are on either side of Al Horford on the pricing sheet. Of that trio, how would you rank them?
Of Hachimura and who?
Horford and Bryant.
I like all three a lot. You're getting pretty big minutes from all three. Usage should be up for Horford, and then also just rebounding goes up, assist opportunities go up, so he should be playing more productive minutes. Bryant and Hachimura playing big minutes, playing a big role in this offense. So I really like all three.
All right, last guy I'm seeing, I just want to call him out. Robert Covington, small forward, power forward, eligible. Again, he'll be asked to fill in for some of that Karl Anthony Towns load. Looking at the guys around him, I prefer him over Jay Crowder, who is in a good matchup. But Crowder's just been kind of all over the place. I kind of tend to lean towards Crowder on the smaller slates. On the larger slates, just don't know that he always gets there. Taurean Prince having himself a game on Friday night, but don't know that I want to go back to the well. He is just 5,100, and then you have OG Anunoby, who has been reasonable, and he is 4,900. So those are some of our discount dandies. We'll talk more about those guys on the DFS strategy show when we go game by game. On to the power forward. Well, we kind of hit some of the power forwards, but I want to hit the one guy I missed, Adam. Pascal Siakam, please. 8,500.
Yeah, his price tag is just kind of stuck, and he's a really, really, really good player, playing big minutes, doing a bunch of everything for Toronto, leading the team in usage without Kawhi, and now he gets a pace-up spot against Milwaukee. He'll probably see a lot of Giannis, going both ways, but this game should be fast enough that it's not like you're playing half-court offense against Giannis. The big, there is some foul risk, assuming that he's spending some time defending Giannis. But again, that's not something that's going to deter me from rostering Siakam. I think that he's a really good option. And is he still a small forward on FanDuel?
Oh, sorry. No, he is. Oh, on FanDuel, I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's still power forward. I can get
Well,
to that.
he's been a small forward all season.
Oh, okay. Let me just double check because I have that all up. Pascal Siakam is still small forward on FanDuel. He is power forward on Yahoo, and he is center / power forward on DraftKings.
Yeah, so the small forward thing on FanDuel is just something that you can take advantage of on that site.
Excellent. Nikola Jokic disappointed us on his last outing, but he is going against Orlando. Not really fond of that matchup. You've got Andre Drummond going against, DeAndre Jordan. Doesn't he do well against DeAndre Jordan? I'll have to look at his game logs. But going against a combination of Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. Both those teams are on a back-to-back, and then you got Vucevic going against Jokic. How do you like the guys at the top of the pivot position?
Yeah, I think Andre Drummond just does well against everybody. It's a nice. It's a pretty nice spot for him. It's good defensive centers in Jordan and Allen. It's not the Brooklyn front court that it used to be, where there was just nobody out there to get rebounds. But he still should have the advantage here. His price tag came up, but playing huge minutes, still very, very involved in all aspects. Jokic is really frustrating right now. It reminds me, if you remember, it was last year where Jokic basically went into a stretch where he just was not playing aggressive at all offensively. He was looking to pass more than he was looking to shoot. And it took Gary Harris finally calling him out after a game and telling him he needed to shoot the ball. And then he went on a run where he was doing things that you expect out of Jokic. It feels the same way watching him right now. He's just getting the ball and immediately looking to pass, not doing a whole lot on the offensive end. The issue is that you can't, I don't think at least that you can actually build that into your projections, because you have no idea what is actually, what his mindset actually is, when it's going to change, when he's going to play more aggressively. All you can really do is take the rates that you think he's going to be at by the end of the season. And so it's frustrating when he's not shooting, but hopefully that turns around sooner than later.
All right. You are correct. Andre Drummond just does well against everybody. Against Jordan, this is for Jordan on 3 different teams: 2 with the Knicks, 1 with Dallas, 2 with the Clippers. Reverse chronological order: 66, 50, 49, 45, 48. Those are DraftKings points. So, yeah, he's in play no matter what, but I was expecting a little bit more on that one. Let me get back to my filters here. Anybody else we did not mention that wasn't at other... Jonas Valanciunas and Cody Zeller. 2 guys that are kind of intriguing. Valanciunas at 6,500. I didn't look at the last game log, but at least through the first 3 games of the season, he had not played in the fourth quarter. I suspect he did not against the Lakers, but I did not confirm that. And then you've got Cody Zeller here, who has been... he has not scored less than 30 fantasy points in any particular game. He's averaging 15 points, 13.5 boards, 2 assists. He is, averaging also 31 minutes per game. That feels relatively solid. He will be going against Golden State. Nothing scary about that matchup. I like both those guys, but their price is ticking up. As we start to wrap things up here, Adam, before we look at FanDuel and Yahoo, how are you feeling about Joe Val and Cody Zeller?
So you're right. Joe Val did not play in the fourth quarter against the Lakers, but he did play 23 minutes, which is a season high. He's kind of just been bumping up by 2-3 minutes a night, and his price tag isn't really moving. So he's someone that we know can produce at a really high clip. He's got a nice matchup against Phoenix. I think that Joe Val's a really good play.
All right. Last guy. Well, Aaron Baines had a phenomenal. That's basically not quite a career night, but just shy of 60 fantasy points. 24, 13, 7 assists, 3 blocks. Probably won't see that again for a while, but he's there. You've got an incredibly discounted Paul Millsap. He's 4,600. That is for a reason. He has topped 17 fantasy points exactly once through 4 tries. And then Frank Kaminsky, power forward, center, eligible, had a dud in his last game, did not make a shot, 0 for 6 from the field, did get 4 from the line, but just a disaster compared to his first 3. That's what's going to happen when you're trusting somebody from Phoenix. As I call up some other plays here at the other sites, anything else you want to mention here at center?
Noah Vonleh should get a bunch of minutes. What he does is anyone's guess, but it is worth keeping in mind that this Minnesota team doesn't have a lot of rebounding. That's something we've talked about with Robert Covington already this year that he's taking advantage of, but not a lot of rebounding. They certainly can use some more playmakers too. It's not like Trevion Graham's much of a playmaker, neither is Wiggins. Vonleh can actually do a decent job in that role. We saw with the Knicks last year. So against this Washington front court that isn't very good at rebounding and isn't very good defensively, I think Vonleh's a nice value.
How much will Noah Vonleh wear a headband? The answer, of course, is yes. What color do you think it will be on Saturday?
Blue.
I have no idea. I'm just buying myself time because I wanted to ask the next question here. How many teams has he played for in his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons?
How many teams?
Yeah.
Portland, the Knicks, Minnesota,
Chicago. And he was drafted by Charlotte.
Did not know that part.
Yeah. 9th pick. He played 25 games his rookie year before being traded to Portland. Wow. He's a journeyman. He's 24 years old, Adam, and he's a journeyman already. Oh, good times. All right, over here on FanDuel, he actually comes up as the best price per dollar guy because he is the minimum 3,500. You also have Miles Bridges, small forward, at 4,500. Joval at 6,000. Covington at 5,600. Hachimura at 59. Wiggins at 6,000. I kind of like that Covens, Hachimura, Wiggins grouping there, Adam. We could fill out power forward and one small forward spot for a grand total of 15,100. That feels interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
And that would leave one more small forward spot for perhaps a Canadian player.
Andrew Wiggins?
No. Everybody's favorite Cameroonian.
Oh, so not a Canadian player.
Well, from Canada. Or from Canada. Playing in Canada. For Canada. Pascal Siakam, goddammit.
Yeah. I'm following now. I was like...
those breadcrumbs were like confetti. I was throwing them everywhere. All right, so those are kind of your cheap guys there. That's some interesting placeholder value. Of course, we'll talk about a few more here and there, but Isiah Thomas coming in at 4,900, slightly interesting there, but a little bit better on DraftKings where you get that 3-point bonus. His steals and blocks really not going to happen. Looking over at our sponsor site, Yahoo. Let me sort my spreadsheet here. Again, Vonleh is 10. Thomas is 10. Matisse Thybulle is 10. Eric Paschal is 11. Those guys are all decent plays. Dylan Brooks is at 10. We didn't mention Dylan Brooks. We liked him better the other night, I'm guessing, because it was a shorter slate. Any interest at all in Dylan Brooks?
Yeah, he's still an okay value. He's going to play around 30 minutes, should have around the 20% usage rate. Doesn't contribute much in the way of peripherals, but he can knock down some threes. It's just that he's 4,300 on DraftKings, which is just kind of like a neutral price point, I think, on this slate. But $10 on Yahoo is pretty appealing. That being said, though, that's the same price as Dwayne Bacon, as Noah Vonleh, as Isiah Thomas. So, compared to those guys, it's still not great.
All right. And then at the top end, so flipping the script here, we have Drummond at 48. That's reasonable. 54 is basically their cap there. You have Antetokounmpo coming in at 54. You've got D'Angelo Russell on the back-to-back, but he's 33. Ben Simmons, 39. Bradley Beal, 41. Nikola Jokic, 44. Booker 41, Lillard 42. Looks like it's going to be fun building some teams over here on Yahoo.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to it. Yesterday was actually the first day that I finally got around to getting some NBA lineups in over there because it was the 8-game slate and there wasn't a whole lot of news, so I felt comfortable just kind of trying to figure it out.
Did you do the upload?
Yeah.
Where do you find the upload on their screen?
You have to go into edit your lineup, and then down at the bottom there's like a very, very small print that says like edit using CSV. You have to do it for every individual tournament, as far as I know. There's no, at least I haven't found like an overall one that gives you all of the tournaments together. But if you go to edit your lineup in a tournament, you'll be able to edit the entire tournament.
Okay, there we are. So Adam is correct. So I wanted to find it. I've got some football, Thursday to Sunday football ones. So if you click on the lineup that's in a contest, go to edit lineup, and if you scroll, you don't even really have to scroll to the bottom, but literally in the middle of the screen in about 8-point font, it says with a hyperlink in blue, edit lineups using CSV. Literally, you're not going to see it unless you know exactly where it is. So I'm telling you where it is. And I had to ask Adam because I didn't even know where to start. I was poking around for that the other day, just out of curiosity. But definitely check that out. If you haven't signed up, again, go to any of the cash building block articles. Third paragraph there will give you the instructions on how to sign up and get $30 with your initial Yahoo deposit bonus. Again, our promo code, the link, etc., are all in the instructions there. They do have their $250,000 baller, the $250,000 baller is more fun to say for this weekend. We do have a specific Yahoo NFL article. Hey, that's going to be written by me as well. That will be out just after lunch on Saturday. By the way, I made 3 different lineups in that contest, Adam, using players from my article. I think each lineup had 2 players that weren't in the article. All 3 of them cashed. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Sometimes you get lucky. The week before, had David Johnson in 4 of my 5 lineups. That did not work out so well. But bygones. In any event, you can catch Adam and I at 9:30 on Yahoo. That is the Awesemo Yahoo channel, doing the NBA DFS strategy show. You can follow Adam on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.